could read your thoughts. From the future.
The movies of 1985.
Well, hello. It is week 52 of the year 1985. That's Tuesday the 24th of December, Christmas Eve to Monday the 30th of December, the final week of the year, movie number 52. My name is Jason Hutchins. I am stuck in the year 1985, and each week I spin this quite rickety bingo machine that's been giving me trouble all year. It's only got one more ball left in it. I know what number it is already, so it's hardly worth spinning it. But I spin this bingo machine each week so that I can select a movie at random from my database of movies on my Commodore 64. So let me just go through the motions and let's spin this around. And up. Okay, it's come apart. It's finally come apart. Let me just see if I can do it manually. Oh, you can't undo this thing. Cheap plastic junk. Anyway, okay, we've got number 50. Of course it's number 50. I knew that by a process of elimination. So what movie can it be? Well, there's only one left on the spreadsheet, and that movie is the 1985 classic children's movie, let me say, as opposed to Back to the Future. It is the classic children's movie, The Goonies. That's right, The Goonies. So in the spirit of the crass commercialization of everything in the world, I am now going to head over to one of these newly launched franchise video stores, Blockbuster Video in Morley. Actually, the second last Blockbuster Video in the world to close. It closed only a couple of years ago. I'm going to go there now to rent The Goonies. While I do that, let me flick on the TV and you can watch an ad.
It's going on. It's going on. It's going on. And on and on. In Alice Springs, the gong and cooey rock. It's going on. It's going on. It's going on. And on and on. It was going on when Grandad was a pup. It makes you want to wrestle with King Kong. Have 15
Okay, I'm back. I'll just pop this in.
It's going on. Vegemite.
So, I have in my hand, sorry Vegemite, the video was inserted a little bit early, so we didn't hear the end of that ad, but I have in my hand the VHS cover of The Goonies, and it is very, very yellow, and I suppose that's meant to represent gold, as in treasure, because on the cover we see the pirate ship with a pirate skull atop a big pile of gold and jewels, and all of the kids in the background, and towards the lower left, that old lady in the beret and the pearl necklace. And I don't really remember too much about this movie. I haven't seen it for a long time. Like I said, I do consider this a children's movie, unlike Back to the Future, which I think appeals across the generations. Warner Brothers Family Entertainment, down the bottom, PG, parental guidance recommended for persons under 15 years. Over on the back, a deliciously dizzy adventure with crowd-pleasing fun, and a bunch of photographs of the adventure, the typical 3 photos that we've come to expect. And this movie, I would say, is very Spielbergian. There's been a few movies like that this year, hasn't there, where they've sort of taken up the Spielberg mantle. He's almost certainly a producer on this, but it is a Richard Donner film. Yes, it's something by Steven Spielberg. Is it Story by? I think it might be that. Chris Columbus. Oh no, screenplay by Chris Columbus. That's pretty good. He did all the Harry Potter films, didn't he, I think? Anyway, the little blurb says, The Goonies, a tight-knit band of misfit youngsters, are breaking up, with greedy developers about to raise the neighbourhood. The kids spend a final drizzly morning together trying to find a way to say goodbye. Instead, they find a real honest-to-gosh 17th century pirate map and set out on a dazzling day-long quest for a treasure rich enough to, this really is Enid Blyton, isn't it? This is the famous five modernized. The Goonies follow the map and their dreams and enter a fabulous subterranean world filled with caverns, crooks, skeletons, booby tracks. I am a bit of a Grinch, and I was doing this a bit last week, a bit of a Scrooge, aren't I? A magical mouldering pirate ship and marvellous something milquetoast. Marvellous milquetoast of a monster. Milquetoast, you don't see that word in children's literature very much. Ex-Raider football star John's someone or other, this is a bit blurry, who has swivelling piglet ears and a face only Dr. Frankenstein could love. Come on, that's a bit rude, isn't it? So, and this is all about the Cyndi Lauper soundtrack as well. I think you can go and watch that on YouTube. Anyway, the Goonies is part Hardy Boys, part Treasure Island, part Our Gang, and 100% adventure. Anyway, that's enough said. Let's dim the lights, get our popcorn, and press play on tape to watch the Goonies.
Wait a minute!
Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
Time, chunk.
Hey, Mike found the map! Whoa, do you guys realize what we could do? I don't want to go on any more of your crazy Goonie adventures.
Meet Mikey,
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Brand, Andy,
Shame! Come on, Fran, slipper the tongue.
That's disgusting. No, I can't even look.
Mouse,
I gotcha! Now get out from behind there, you're ruining the painting. You're ruining my joke!
Stephanie, Data,
Booty bangers! Ow! Guys, isn't that neat?
and Chunk.
It's locked. Thanks, Chunk.
They call themselves The Goonies. They've stumbled onto a legend, but they're not alone.
Chunk, I hope that was your stomach.
No. That's the it. Sounds like Kong.
Discover what they uncover.
It was full of rubies and emeralds and diamonds.
The lost map.
Oh, this started the tunnel.
The secret caves.
Hey, Mikey! You can hear me! Run! Run! They're coming after you! Sugar!
The hidden clues.
Mikey!
The treacherous traps.
Hello, Sheriff. I'm at the Lighthouse Lounge, and I want to report, a murder.
Just like that last prank about all those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them.
Take the oath.
They're here! They're here! Somebody's coming!
Join the adventure as Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
No, this isn't my kind of movie. It's sadly, I'm going to have to give this one a 2.5. It doesn't hit the nostalgia notes for me because I don't think I really enjoyed it in 1985 when I was 13 years old. I haven't really rewatched it very much either since then. And like I said, I do consider it to be a kids' movie, a little bit like Home Alone. Now, Home Alone was written by John Hughes but directed by Chris Columbus. The Goonies was written by Chris Columbus and directed by Richard Donner, but with, I would say, Steven Spielberg's fingerprints all over it because it features a lot of very Spielbergian shots and things like that. This zoom in on somebody's surprised face and so forth. Now, it's a little bit like the Hardy Boys or the Famous Five. the movie isn't super believable. You know, these kids discovering a cave with a pirate ship in it near their house. And I think that's what makes it a kids' movie and not something for people of all ages. It does use a similar setup to Home Alone, I think, where it's the kids versus the bad guys, and they use all sorts of pranks to confuse and injure the bad guys, especially Data with all of his devices that he's got. He's a bit of an inventor, and so is his dad. We meet all the kids' parents at the end and see that they're all a reflection of their parents. Now, what can I say about this movie? Not very much, I don't think. It's probably the most impressive part of it is the pirate ship that you don't see until right at the very end, because they built, over the course of 2.5 months, a full-size pirate ship, 32-metre pirate ship, requiring 7,000 square feet of sail fabric. And it was modelled after Errol Flynn's ship in the 1935 Swashbuckler, the Seahawk. So that was pretty impressive, seeing that. Unfortunately, the ship that they built had to be dismantled and destroyed at the end of filming, because even though they tried to get an amusement park to save it, none of them would answer their calls. So, it's worth seeing for that alone, I guess, if you haven't seen the pirate ship before. I like Data. He was quite funny, laying all his booty traps all over the place. Oh, you mean booby traps? And I mean, this is the level of wordplay that you get in the movie. It's not that fun, really. I don't think there's very much for me to say about it. Sean Astin was good. Of course, I like him more in the Lord of the Rings movies, but this is where he made his name, and he sort of appeared in Stranger Things out of this as well, I would say. I identified with his character because he was asthmatic and always used his inhaler, although throwing it away at the end as if it had been a comfort blanket or something was a little bit silly, you've got to admit. What else can I say about this? Not very much. It was interesting to see the guy from Die Hard, you know, one of the two Johnson FBI guys, as one of the bad guys here, playing a bit of a slapstick kind of role, similar to what you see in Home Alone with the two burglars. You know, the guy with the pockmarked acne face. I don't actually know the actor's name. I should look that up. I'm not really well prepared. I've just come back from vacation. What would his name be? No idea. Joey Pantoliano was in it. Hardly recognisable with hair or a hairpiece. He's in The Matrix, of course. Look. I've got nothing positive to say about the Goonies. I really don't like it very much. And I guess that's one of the regrets in doing this little project is I've had to rewatch some movies that I didn't like that much in the first place. And I've had to watch some movies that, although I'd never seen them before, I kind of knew I wouldn't like them, and it turned out that I didn't like them. Fortunately, I did get to rewatch some movies that I really enjoy that I haven't seen for a long time. And I did get to discover some brand new movies that I'd never seen before. And I'm really, really interested in that process of discovery. So let's go through that a bit now.
I'm driving along and I'm just singing my song. I'm in a news-free zone.
Well, welcome everybody to the News Free Zone, that time of the podcast when we look back at the news from 40 years ago. Now, this week in 1985, the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special aired on US television, but I'm really not going to take very much attention to that. that kind of needed the Masters of the Universe to celebrate Christmas and know about Santa. And I mean, does that make much sense? I don't think there's very much else to talk about in terms of news. If you're in Perth, you might be interested to know that on December the 30th, 1985, the Burswood Casino opened its doors and Harry Hopman died of a heart attack at his Florida home. Of course, the Hopman Cup in Perth was named after him. That has been played a lot. They have a different tennis tournament these days. Reagan and Gorbachev announced Christmas messages about peace and so on and so forth. And there was a terrorist disaster as well with an attack on an El Al airline aircraft, I think. There was also a big bomb. So there was a movie called American Revolution starring Al Pacino, completely miscast and suffering from pneumonia during principal photography. He really phoned in his performance, and apparently he took a 4-year hiatus from films afterwards based upon how badly it bombed. But that's all the news I'm going to talk about for this week in 1985, because what I would like to do is I would like to go through this year in the movies of 1985, and I can do that by going onto Letterboxd, because I love Letterboxd. Letterboxd is a great website. Letterboxd. That's Letterboxd. And it's a great way of recording what movies you've seen. I've been keeping lists of the movies that we've watched both last year with the movies of 1999 and this year with the movies of 1985. Each of those movies, if you go to my list on that, which you'll find in the show notes for this podcast, you'll be able to see my reviews, the number of stars that I've given them, and also a direct link to the podcast episode where we talk about that movie. Now, just going through that list, I realised that we've had a run of pretty poor movies to end the year. We had Sweet Dreams, which was the Patsy Cline biopic, which we gave 2.5 stars. Real Genius. Oh, no, sorry. That was a little bit further back. No, we had Life Force, which was 3.5 stars. That was okay. Hail Mary, 2.5 stars. A bit of a Christmas movie, wasn't that great? And now The Goonies, which I'm also giving 2.5 stars. So not the strongest end to the year, but what I'd like to do is quickly review the 52 films that we have watched this year. And rather than sorting this list by date, I'm going to sort it by my rating, with the highest rating first. And that way I can see that I gave 6 movies a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. 3 of those movies I've already seen: Brazil, Back to the Future, and Bliss. Now, Back to the Future I just consider one of the most well-constructed movies, even though it is a popcorn movie. It is a summer blockbuster movie. It's not an art house movie or anything like that, which is usually the sort of movie that I prefer to see. I like to watch movies that are maybe a bit more challenging, but you've really got to admire the artistry behind Back to the Future. Brazil, Terry Gilliam's take on 1984, I think is brilliant, and it was really, really applicable to what's going on in the world today, I thought. My interest in Brazil has waxed and waned over the years. I used to love it, and then I rewatched it a bit, and I thought it was, mediocre for a while there. But on the rewatch, I hadn't seen it for a long time, and I just was blown away. Compared to the other movies of 1985, it really stood out. The other one that I'd seen is Bliss, the Australian movie based on the book that I read right at the beginning of this year, the John Carey book. And again, I thought that was just an amazing, dreamy, kind of absurdist, surreal movie with really good use of symbolism. I really enjoyed that. The other 3 movies I gave a perfect 5 stars were all new to me, and they were all Japanese, or in fact, 2 of them were Japanese. One was Tampopo, which is bizarre. There's a lot of short vignettes, stories about Japanese culture, Japanese life, but a lot of it is about starting a ramen business. Angel's Egg, an amazing animation about the dangers of nuclear Arms, I suppose. And Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters, an American movie based on a Japanese author, which was just amazing, like really, really interesting. Now, 4.5, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies with 4.5 stars. So that's pretty good going, really, isn't it? So that's 15 movies out of 52 that were really worth watching this year. Kiss of the Spider Woman, After Hours, Ron, the Akira Kurosawa movie, Typhoon Club, Vagabond, that French movie about the young lady who just ditched society and decided to wander around France. They were all really good, and they were movies that I discovered this year. So I'm really glad to have watched them. And like I said, that process of discovery is something that I find really interesting. Just wanting to try and harness that somehow to improve the hit rate. So instead of 15 of 52 movies, I would really like 52 of 52 movies to be 4.5 or 5-star films. So they're the 4.5 movies that I saw for the first time this year. Really enjoyed them all. The ones that I rewatched are Clue. I've watched many times. It's just such a well done movie. And it was so interesting to see reading Usenet that people really, really bounced off that movie in 1985. They really didn't have very much to say about it, but I think it's just a classic. Witness as well was a lot better than I expected. Directed by the Australian director whose name I had forgotten, with Harrison Ford. Just brilliant. A lot of really good visual storytelling in that. That Swedish movie, My Life as a Dog, that I'd watched when I was younger on SBS. Better Off Dead, the John Cusack movie. Again, absurdist, surreal. Loved it. I think this appeals to me. 4 stars we've got To Live and Die in LA, Lady Hawk, Police Story, Mask, Silverado I saw for the first time, Great Western, Smooth Talk, interesting movie. It sort of touched the right buttons in me, I guess. I could see a lot of people hating that movie. Commando was a lot better than I remembered it being, and just looked really good on screen as well. Lost in America, Taipei Story, The Breakfast Club, The Quiet Earth, the New Zealand post-apocalyptic movie. They were all really good, but 4 out of 5 I would say are almost at a mid-level movie. Take it or leave it. If I hadn't seen these movies, I wouldn't have missed them. There's no instant classics in there. They all had their strong points, but I really want to just be watching 4.5 or 5-star movies, which brings me to the more mediocre 3.5 movies. Now, 3.5 for me is not a great rating. Young Sherlock Holmes, My Beautiful Laundrette, The Falcon and the Snowman, they were all pretty interesting. But movies like The Colour Purple, Prizzi's Honour, Out of Africa, Twice in a Lifetime, movies that I'd heard of but never seen, suspected I probably wouldn't love them, even though they might have been well awarded and well reviewed. And after watching them, I didn't really like them that much. Subway was another 3.5 movie. Fletch, Jagged Edge, there was a bit of a weird one. Runaway Train and Life Force. That brings us right towards the end of the 3.5 movies. Some of them, like Runaway Train, Life Force, and Subway, perhaps, if you're in the right frame of mind. I'd probably add Fletch to that. If you're in the right frame of mind and you're not watching a work of art, you're just watching something for a bit of fun, then they can be enjoyable, but they're 3.5 stars enjoyable. 3, I would consider 3 movies to be not very good, even though that is above average, isn't it? Because 2.5 would be the average score. But The Purple Rose of Cairo, The Journey of Nadigan, Pale Rider, Real Genius, they're the 4 3-star movies that I watched this year. Didn't really like any of them. They all had interesting moments, I suppose, but they're not really for me. 2.5 stars, Cocoon, Desperately Seeking Susan, The Sure Thing, that was another John Cusack movie. The Man with One Red Shoe, Sweet Dreams, Hail Mary, and The Goonies. I just wish I didn't have to rewatch or watch for the first time those movies this year. I would like some sort of discovery algorithm that would have allowed me to avoid watching those in the first place. Now, the worst movies of the year, Dream Child and Explorers, both got 2 stars. Dream Child, that was the one about the author of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, with puppetry done by the Jim Henson Company. It was awful. Explorers was the E.T. ripoff. It had Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix in. It was also pretty bad. But Echo Park with 1 star, that just took the cake. The guy from Amadeus just went from that movie to this piece of garbage. It was really, really bad, with weird Austrian bookends just to justify their financing. Anyway, that's a review of the year. And like I said, what I'm really interested in is discovery. How can I discover movies that I've never heard of before that are quite likely to be movies that I'll give 4.5 or 5 stars when I watch them? And that is a project that I am going to start in 2026 using Letterboxd as a means of browsing movies from a particular year and just trying to find undiscovered gems. And I think I've got a little bit of an algorithm to do that. So I am going to watch at least one, but probably a couple of movies from a particular year every month in 2026 and the years after. And I'll record a podcast, probably not weekly. I think weekly can be a bit challenging. Maybe fortnightly, maybe once a month, maybe on a more random schedule. And I will discuss my thoughts about discovery. Discovery is something that I don't think we've ever really solved with technology. It is very different to search. It is more about browsing or fossicking or what animals do when they're looking for food, foraging. It's kind of like you're looking for something, but you don't know what it is that you're looking for, which means you can't search. You can't plug in a term into a search engine. You've just got to sort of trust your gut a bit more and browse. And it's not something we do much anymore. We used to do it back in the day in video stores. I love bookstores, independently run bookstores, browsing around and having that experience of serendipity where something jumps out at you. It's an author you've never heard of. It's just an interesting book jacket. You flick through a few pages, you read the blurb on the back, you take a chance, you go home and you discover a new passion. And I want to discover that process. How do you make it more and more likely that you will walk away with something that you're going to treasure? And that's what I'm going to explore next year in the new season, which I'm going to call the movies of happenstance, because that's another word for it, isn't it? Now, just to sign things off, I've gone through all the movies from 1985. I've let you know what I thought about them. I think that probably, 15 movies out of 52. It's a bit more than a quarter, a bit less than a third. My strike rate hasn't been great. I am trying to get it to 100% for next year and onwards. I want every movie to be killer. All killer, no filler. That's going to be the motto of 2026. So just to round things off, is there any Usenet news? There is. So this week in Net.Graphics, they were talking about Deluxe Paint. Now, I didn't realize that Deluxe Paint came out this early. Deluxe Paint from Electronic Arts for the Commodore Amiga came out in 1985 for $80. And I just loved Deluxe Paint back when I got an Amiga, but everyone used Deluxe Paint. In fact, John Carmack used Deluxe Paint, D-Paint 2, as the primary pixel pushing tool for Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. A lot of LucasArts classics, such as The Secret of Monkey Island, Loom, and Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, were all drawn using Deluxe Paint. along with genre-defining titles such as Another World, Eye of the Beholder, and SimCity 2000, and console graphics for the Super NES and the Mega Drive were often created with Deluxe Paint. Even Junior Senior's 2003 music video for Move Your Feet was made completely in Deluxe Paint on a Commodore Amiga. So I loved Deluxe Paint. It was great to see it mentioned. I didn't know it came out in 1985. I didn't even have a Commodore 64 in 1985. It's been a very interesting experience during the year to see how far ahead of time 1985 really was in some ways, apart from all the air disasters, of course. And I'll leave the final word of the year to Samuel Pepys from the year 1665, 360 years ago, when he wrote, probably in the top 10 most quoted quotes from his 3,000-page diary that spanned 7 years, I think. He wrote about seeing a wedding on Christmas Day during the plague, the Great Plague of London. And he said he saw a wedding in the church which he has not seen many a day, and the young people being so merry with one another, and strange to see what delight we married people have to see these poor fools decoyed into our condition, every man and woman gazing and smiling at them. So that's a bit of a backhander, isn't it? It's a bit of a way of saying, look at the folly of youth, while giving a bit of a backhander to his wife, I suppose. That's Pepys at his cynical best. Anyway, so that is the end of the movies of 1985. Please tune in next year in the year 1986, where I am going to do this crazy movies of happenstance, starting in the year 1970, which is when time began. If you follow Unix time, the midnight on the 1st of January 1970 was zero, time zero. And we are going to go all the way through, well, I don't really know how far I'm going to go, but I'm going to start with 1970, and I'm going to try and find some undiscovered gems. And all the movies I find, I want to be 4.5 or 5-star movies. Let's see if I can achieve that next year. Until then, don't forget to rewind.